President Mahmud, it's truly a relief you're still alive. Mahmud. Am I that despicable? Surviving must have disappointed your expectations. Should I apologize for that? Mahmud mentally cursed Moon's ancestors 18 generations back. Chapter 218, Zhongdong's premier powerhouse. Though he thought this, Mahmud dared not voice it aloud. He still pinned his hopes on the Lighthouse Nation. He hoped for a turning point. Mr. Mons, you sought me out regarding. Here's the situation, use every means at your disposal to reach the southern border immediately. We've already dispatched personnel to meet you there. Once you arrive, simply follow our agents. Really, Mr. Mons? At a time like this, would I be joking with you? No, that's not what I meant. Mahmud swallowed hard. His mind was a complete jumble. What exactly does the Lighthouse Nation mean? Abandoning them, yet still trying to save him? Mahmud knew the Lighthouse Nation wasn't exactly a paragon of virtue. Their actions meant there was still profit to be squeezed from him, or rather, he still held some value to them. At this critical juncture of life and death, there was no time for further deliberation. Survival was paramount. Mahmud exited the command center and ordered a special vehicle. He stepped on the gas and sped toward the address Mons had given him. Mons, are you sure you want to do this? The Pentagon. Mark stared at Mons. Yes. Do any of you have a better idea? Mendez turned and asked the group in return. No one spoke. Obama raised his hand, signaling for everyone to calm down. For now, let's proceed as Mons suggested. We can't genuinely go to war over the Somali Kingdom and the Yemen Kingdom. They possess nuclear weapons, and the cost would outweigh the benefit. But the Somali Kingdom cannot truly vanish. The regime must remain in our hands. As long as Mahmud lives, the Somali government persists, retaining its utility. Yes. This was the decision made by the Lighthouse Nation as a last resort. The outcome of the battle was already decided. The Somali Kingdom has suffered a crushing defeat. If Mahmud dies, what will happen to the Somali Kingdom next? It is highly probable that Zhang Yi would install one of their own to establish a new regime in the Somali Kingdom. This is bad news for the Lighthouse Nation. Because the Somali Kingdom's geographical location is crucial. It must never fall into the hands of the Yemen Kingdom. The only solution is to protect Mahmud. The Lighthouse Nation should help him establish an exile government to preserve the legitimacy of the Somali Kingdom. As long as Mahmud remains in existence, the world cannot recognize the Yemen Kingdom's claims to Somali territory. Subsequently, there may even be an opportunity. Assist Mahmud in launching a new war to reclaim Somali territory. Mons urgently contacted Mahmud. After confirming Mahmud was still alive, he offered him a chance to survive. He dispatched men to assist him. So, are we truly powerless against this cloaking ability? Mark slammed his hand on the table in fury. This battle is far from over. But there was no need to watch any further. They witnessed the entire process of how the Yemen Kingdom crushed Somali. After analysis, the ultimate reason for Somali's crushing defeat was that their radar couldn't detect the enemy. This rendered Somali's air defense systems, rocket artillery, MiG fighters, the backbone of their military, utterly useless. The Somali Kingdom's defeat was predetermined from the start. The Lighthouse Nation's greatest fear was, if the same situation were to occur to them, would they face the same outcome? After all, they had clashed numerous times before. Their radars were as good as blind. If so, the consequences would be dire. Imagine both sides clashing while the Lighthouse Nation couldn't be crushed as easily as the Somali Kingdom. But the radar issue will undoubtedly inflict heavy losses on them, becoming their greatest weakness. This must be addressed. In my view, the Yemen Kingdom's current strength is no longer what it once was. We cannot judge them with the same perspective we used to view the Wu forces. As the atmosphere grew heavy, an old man wearing a military cap spoke up. All eyes turned to him. This man, named Smith, served as director of the Lighthouse Nation's Net Assessment Office and was also the nation's foremost military expert. Smith, what are your thoughts? Obama inquired. Smith replied in a sullen tone, it is as follows. In this conflict, the Kingdom of Yemen deployed only its air force to bomb Somalia, rendering the Somali Kingdom utterly defenseless. I believe their air power has reached a terrifying level, advancing to a stage that leads the world. Obama was startled. He hadn't expected Smith to offer such high praise. Just as he was about to ask how it compared to the Lighthouse Nation, he immediately recalled how their most advanced fifth-generation fighter, the F-35, had been thoroughly outmatched by the Yemen Kingdom. Their strength fluctuates noticeably. Smith continued, their ground forces are also mediocre. Judging from their sparse combat records, since the Yemen king took command of the Houthi forces months ago, the Houthis have maintained an undefeated record in ground warfare, not a single loss. At this point, Smith had to acknowledge another painful truth. Moreover, while maintaining their own strength, they still had surplus forces to support Gasha, significantly boosting its combat capabilities. This allowed Gasha to withstand prolonged attacks from large-scale Iranian forces, clearly demonstrating their army strength. Their ground equipment is excellent and ranks among the world's best. The group was left speechless. Such an outcome. It was hard to accept. But whether they acknowledged it or not, the Kingdom of Yemen had now become a superpower in the Middle East. Its power even surpasses that of Sicily and the former Middle Eastern powerhouse, Iran. Of course, they have their weaknesses too. Smith began analyzing the Kingdom of Yemen's vulnerabilities using available intelligence. That weakness lies in their naval power. As far as I know, they haven't established an official naval organization yet, nor do they possess any proper warships, only a large fleet of cargo vessels. You're forgetting those unmanned combat vessels they recently demonstrated capable of both surface warfare and submerged stealth operations. They're quite formidable. Mons countered. Smith shook his head. No, I haven't forgotten. I've considered that precisely why I'm saying this. While those unmanned combat vessels are powerful, they have significant drawbacks. First, they couldn't possibly field a large fleet. Second, these unmanned vessels are only capable of supporting coastal operations, they can't conduct open ocean warfare. They pose no threat to our homeland. Upon hearing this, the others suddenly realized Smith's point held some merit. These unmanned vessels seemed promising. But unmanned vessels can never match human flexibility and adaptability. Human-developed artificial intelligence hasn't reached that level yet. Therefore, they were confident. With proper preparation, they could command any naval combat unit to annihilate the entire fleet of unmanned vessels belonging to the Yaman Kingdom. Chapter 219, The Ultimate Special Forces. Therefore, the Yaman Kingdom was only worth their attention. Is still only its air force and army. Smith produced a document detailing all conflicts and friction between the Lighthouse Nation and the Yaman Kingdom since their initial contact. Detailing every conflict and friction point. He identified the critical sections. He explained. In terms of air power, they possess super fighter jets surpassing 5th-generation aircraft in performance. On the ground, their ground combat units possess combat capabilities rivaling elite special forces, along with various advanced ground equipment. Armored tanks, rocket artillery, swarm drones capable of reconnaissance, assassination, suicide attacks, and battlefield scanning. These are the elements that truly give us headaches. Considering these alone, Smith believes these assets alone would be sufficient to position the Kingdom of Yaman around 10th place in global military strength. If they could address the gaps in their naval capabilities, the true strength of the Yaman Kingdom would be far more formidable. It would leapfrog directly into the top 10 military powers among the world's more than 200 nations. The significance of this achievement speaks for itself. Many nations classified as developed countries lack such formidable capabilities. For some nations to reach this ranking, it took decades of effort, more or less. But the Kingdom of Yaman? It achieved in mere months what other nations require decades to accomplish. This was what Smith found most astonishing and troubling. In the end, he concluded, the threat posed by the Kingdom of Yaman was growing too great, gradually slipping beyond our control. We must find a way to suppress and contain them, or else face endless trouble in the future. Many had long recognized this truth. But Smith reiterated it once more. These words were not merely analysis, they were also a reminder to Obama that concrete action must be taken. Not like before. Paying lip service to sanctioning the Yaman Kingdom while allowing them to grow stronger and steadily erode the Lighthouse Nation's control over the Middle East. Obama cleared his throat awkwardly and said, I'll keep this issue in mind. Here's what we'll do. After this meeting, each of you will submit a sanctions proposal targeting the Kingdom of Yemen. We'll deliberate together, select the most suitable plan, and implement it immediately. His gaze swept across the room. Finding no objections, the plan was officially set. This time, no matter what, the Lighthouse Nation was ready to get serious. Overwhelming the Somali Kingdom's forces, over 10,000 soldiers poised to attack the port of Hodeida. Andre returned to the port. He entered Jiang Ye's command room. This time, he brings another piece of news. Your Majesty, we've just discovered an unidentified force rapidly approaching the Somali Kingdom's border at the Kenyan-Somali frontier. We suspect they may be here to escort an important Somali figure out of the country. Should we intercept them? Is that so? Jiang Ye raised an eyebrow. Interesting. It seems the Lighthouse Kingdom and Somali Kingdom are still mounting their final resistance. Intercept them. Eliminate them completely. Understood. I will personally lead the operation. Andre saluted, exited the command center, and immediately assembled over 20 super soldiers like himself, all system-rewarded warriors. Boarding an armed helicopter, they raced toward the Somali Kingdom. The reason they didn't use fighter jets for bombing runs was because the enemy was still within Kenyan territory. In Kenya, without having done anything to the Kingdom of Odom, bombing Kenyan territory would inevitably provoke international condemnation. Furthermore, the enemy forces were scattered. Attempting to eliminate all targets in a single strike was impractical and would waste air power. Jiang Ye's deployed fighter jets. The priority remains destroying the Somali Kingdom's ground forces and neutralizing their combat facilities. Only by completely eliminating them. Only then could Jiang Ye rest easy. To prevent complications arising over time. Moreover, with Andre personally taking action as a super soldier rewarded by the system, his combat prowess far surpasses that of ordinary soldiers. If they cross paths, it'll be his personal show. Having spent too long in the military, Andre himself craved some action to stretch his legs. Deep within the jungles bordering the Kingdom of Somali and Kenya, a group of soldiers clad in camouflage and fully armed advanced steadily, utilizing the jungle terrain. Their mission, to rendezvous with Mahmoud. This Special Forces unit had an impressive pedigree. They belonged to the most renowned unit of the Lighthouse Nation, Delta Force. This elite counter-terrorism unit of the Lighthouse Nation Army was established in November 1977. Its founding purpose. Its primary missions include counter-terrorism operations, hostage rescue, apprehension and elimination of terrorist forces, and intelligence gathering on terrorist threats. Members are drawn from elite special forces units within the Lighthouse Nation Army, such as Rangers and Green Berets. All official members are selected from the elite of the elite within special forces. This deployment by Lighthouse Nation involves its C Company, whose primary mission is assault. The unit comprised one reconnaissance and sniper section, along with 2 assault teams. As a top-tier special forces unit, the Lighthouse Nation invested heavily in building this unit, equipping it exclusively with state-of-the-art weaponry. This included various M4 carbines, M16 assault rifles, MP5 submachine guns, Colt 1911A1 pistols, and Glock pistols. Historically, this unit has participated in numerous world-shaking operations. Notable examples include the Iran hostage crisis, Operation Desert Storm in 1983, the invasion of Panama in 1989, the Gulf War in 1991, Operation Restore Hope in Somalia in 1993, Operation Enduring Freedom in 2001, Operation Blue Dawn in 2003, and Operation Juniper Shield in 2012. It can be said that globally, the Lighthouse Nation's Delta Force is a top-tier special forces unit that strikes fear into the hearts of other nations. Rumors about this unit have been circulating online, often exaggerated to the point of myth. Whether in terms of fame or capability, they stand at the pinnacle of the world. As previously circulated online, the unit's grueling boot camp training pushes every member's physical capabilities to the limits of human endurance. In a bare-handed scenario, not even 10 men could get close. Even more astonishing, rumors suggest Delta Force operatives use special substances to achieve superhuman physical capabilities. In the minds of many, Delta Force stands as the undisputed pinnacle of the Special Forces world. At that moment, several Delta Force reconnaissance team members were rapidly approaching the border. Not far behind them were assault team members. Further back, at several different positions, were snipers providing covering fire. The enemy should reach the rendezvous point in about 15 minutes. Lay in wait and ambush them. At that moment, the commander of this rescue operation issued his orders. Chapter 220, Delta Force, wiped out. They knew the Yaman Kingdom would certainly be on guard against them, especially during this sensitive period of war. Advancing recklessly now would alert the enemy. They were only 2 or 3 kilometers away from the rendezvous point with Mahmud. They planned to wait until Mahmud was nearly there before rushing over. But they didn't know. Deep within this dense jungle, a swarm of drones was currently monitoring their every move, keeping them under constant surveillance. Through the drone's intelligence, Andre led his men, steadily closing in on the Delta Force's location. They proceeded with extreme caution. Before long, they drew within about 500 meters of the Delta Force team. After confirming they remained undetected, Andre ordered the sniper to quietly climb the highest hill nearby and set up a sniper rifle there. The sniper quickly identified all enemy sniper positions. He pressed the switch on his walkie-talkie. All enemy sniper positions locked. 6 total. Primary target at 12 o'clock. I'll take him out first. Andre nodded. Understood. But hold off for now. Wait until they come out to provide backup before we strike. That way, we catch them off guard. That's the plan. Several minutes passed. The Delta Force operative glanced at his watch. It was almost time. He waved to the men behind him. The Somali president should be arriving soon. Pick him up and withdraw immediately. After waiting so long here, nothing unusual had happened. They reasoned. The Kingdom of Yemen must have focused all its attention on the frontline war, leaving them undetected. They stood up, ready to head to the pre-arranged rendezvous point. But no sooner had they risen than a muffled gunshot suddenly whistled past their ears. As seasoned warriors who had carried out missions year after year, they knew exactly what that sound meant. It was the sound of a sniper rifle fitted with a suppressor. Even the most advanced suppressors couldn't eliminate the sound entirely. Some residual echo always lingered. Turning around, they saw a bullet pierce the forehead of one of their snipers, leaving a bloody hole. This sniper, hailing from the world-renowned Delta Force Special Operations Unit, was declared dead on the spot. Declared dead. Trouble. We're under ambush. The remaining men scattered in all directions, seeking cover behind nearby structures. Damn it! When did they appear? They panicked. During the ambush, they hadn't let their guard down, constantly monitoring their surroundings. But they hadn't detected any signs of someone approaching. Why is this happening? Something's wrong, dead wrong. Unless our cover's blown. We've been ambushed. The rendezvous point has been compromised. We won't be able to complete this rescue mission. The squad leader's face darkened as he spoke. Obama and the others, who were waiting for news, looked utterly stunned. They thought they must have misheard. Only they should know the rendezvous point. How did the enemy find out? Withdraw immediately. Abandon the rescue. There was no other choice. The enemy knew their plan and had likely set a trap waiting for them to walk right into it. If we're stubborn enough to push forward, the entire squad of over 30 men will likely perish here. Ordinary soldiers, well, that's one thing. The Lighthouse Nation wouldn't bat an eye at their deaths. But these are Delta Force soldiers, each one trained at immense cost, both in resources and effort. We absolutely cannot let the entire unit be wiped out. Receiving the order, they turned around and fled in the opposite direction, determined to escape this troubled land first. Think you can just walk away? Andre, who had been waiting for this moment for a long time, wasn't about to let them leave so easily. At his command, the machine gunners, already lying in ambush, opened fire. 3 heavy machine guns, already set up, unleashed a hail of bullets toward their escape route. Rat-a-tat-tat. The dense barrage of fire created a veritable hail of bullets. The Delta Force soldiers had no choice but to abandon their retreat and scramble for cover. Damn it. All members turned pale. They never expected the enemy to have heavy machine guns. Had they been prepared all along? Split up and break through from different directions, or we'll all die here. The squad leader issued orders to his team. Unfortunately, Andre had anticipated this scenario and had his men already lying in ambush close in. Only then did the Delta Force operatives realize. They were surrounded. Despair washed over their faces. Report, we're surrounded. We might not get out of here. This news finally put to rest the anxiety that had been gnawing at Obama and the others. Over 30 Delta Force members. Their hearts were bleeding. Destroy all identifying items on your persons immediately, then take your own lives. Obama feared they might be captured. Then he ordered them to be interrogated for intelligence. This left the soldiers deeply dissatisfied. Since death was inevitable anyway, they might as well fight to the end. There might still be hope. Both sides engaged in fierce combat, relying on their rich experience. Under the concentrated fire and relentless assault of Andre and his men, they managed to hold out for a while. It wasn't until over 20 minutes later that the entire group was wiped out. Andre did not leave immediately. Instead, he ordered his men to search the soldiers' belongings. They discovered personal identification documents, other private belongings, and a map. The map marked a specific location. The marked location happened to be nearby. Andre studied the map thoughtfully for a moment before decisively relaying the information to Jiang Yi. Boss, these guys snuck across the border. Could it be they were here to meet up with some high-ranking official from the Somali kingdom? I suspect this marked location is their rendezvous point. Should I go check it out? Alright, go ahead. With permission granted, Andre led his men to the site. Not long after, they arrived at their destination. Andre spotted a familiar face. Mahmoud, looking disheveled, was hiding under a clump of trees. Spotting Andre, he cautiously peered out. Excuse me, are you here to pick me up? Not knowing who was supposed to pick him up, Mahmoud mistakenly thought Andre was the person sent by the Lighthouse Nation. Yes. Come with us. Andre smiled faintly and ordered his men to restrain Mahmoud. Only then did Mahmoud sense something was amiss. No, you're not from the Lighthouse Nation. Who are you? Ha! Andre roared with laughter. Who we are is irrelevant. You'd better cooperate with me from now on, or I'll make you wish you were dead. Andre was never one for polite manners. Standing at 6 feet tall, with a rugged appearance and fierce eyes, especially with traces of blood staining his clothes, Mahmoud was utterly terrified. He stared at Andre in terror, unable to utter a single word. Chapter 221, Celebrating Survival. Seeing the other man was being reasonably compliant, Andre's expression softened slightly. He'd been ready to beat the guy senseless to teach him a lesson. But who would have thought the so-called king of Somali Kingdom was such a coward? Andre dialed Jiang Yi's number. He didn't forget to report the outcome of the situation in real time. Jiang Yi was somewhat surprised. After a moment of delight, he said to Andre, "Excellent, Andre. Put him through to me." Andre gave Mahmoud a subtle nod. The gist was, cooperate with the questioning, or I can crush you any time. Despite the Somali kingdom's poverty, where many couldn't even afford food, Mahmoud, as king, lived in luxury. His body had long been hollowed out by wine and women. This threat sent shivers down his spine. I'll talk. I'll tell you everything. Jiang Yi knew without a doubt that Andre was trying to intimidate him. Fine, that saved him the trouble. Now, explain why you're here. The Lighthouse Nation decided to rescue me, help establish an exile government, and eventually reclaim the Somali Kingdom as our base. Jiang Yi frowned. Well. When the Lighthouse Nation's Delta Force was detected, it was highly likely they were coming to Somali Kingdom to pick someone up. Jiang Yi's mind had indeed considered this possibility. Who knew it would actually be the case? One could only say that the Lighthouse Nation was indeed quite resourceful even at this critical juncture. They hadn't forgotten to secure their own backup plan. What about the other high-ranking officials of the Somali Kingdom? Have they been evacuated? Jiang Yi asked again. Jiang Yi knew that the bombing had killed a number of high-ranking officials. But the rest? He had no clue. They're most likely hiding in air raid shelters now, since they have no idea when your bombing will end. Hearing this, an intriguing thought formed in Jiang Yi's mind. He then had Andre take the call. He gave Andre a brief briefing. After listening, Andre broke into a meaningful smile. His Majesty the King sure knows how to play the game. He immediately had his bloodstains cleaned off, then, armed with some IDs scavenged from Delta Force members, escorted Mahmoud toward the Somali presidential palace. After several rounds of bombing, the Somali Kingdom's presidential palace now lay in ruins. Corpses of soldiers littered the ground everywhere. As for the guarding troops, had long since fled without a trace. Some had retreated to the underground air raid shelter, intending to wait out the airstrikes before emerging. Mahmoud wore a mournful expression throughout. Reluctantly, he led Andre and the others to the entrance of their underground bunker. You'd better cooperate and keep your head straight. No funny business. Otherwise, I guarantee your head will explode in less than a second. Got it? As they entered the underground shelter, Andre didn't forget to threaten Mahmoud. His legs went weak with fear. Forget about tricks, his mind was a blank slate now, incapable of even basic thought. Inside the bunker, the entrance suddenly swung open, startling everyone inside. Soldiers with loaded rifles immediately aimed their weapons at the opening. Only when they recognized Mahmoud did they lower their weapons. "Mr. President, you're not dead?" A high-ranking official of the Somali kingdom exclaimed in astonishment upon seeing Mahmoud. "We thought you were outside and had been blown to bits." "I'm not dead," Mahmoud said, forcing himself to speak. The underground bunker was dimly lit. So Andre, standing behind him, was aiming a pistol at his lower back. He dared not utter a single wrong word now, terrified he might meet his maker in the next second. By the way, who are these people? As other high-ranking officials emerged one after another, they noticed that Andre and his group were unfamiliar faces, not Somalis, and began to question. If they hadn't come with Mahmoud, they would have been shot on sight. "They're from the Lighthouse Nation's Delta Force." Mahmoud cleared his throat and introduced them with a serious expression. "The Lighthouse Nation intends to rebuild its support for us. They've sent people to temporarily relocate us out of Somali. I brought them here intending to take you along. You are all key members of the Somali kingdom. The kingdom cannot function without you." These words stirred deep emotion among the other leaders. Could Mahmoud really be this kind to them? Of course. They had considered the possibility that the Lighthouse Nation might have its own motives. But none of that mattered now. What mattered was this. The Beacon Nation hadn't abandoned them. They still had a chance to survive and with the Beacon Nation's help even reclaim power? A wave of excitement swept through the crowd. But Andre keenly sensed that some present still harbored doubts about their identities. Andre gave a subtle signal. A subordinate stepped forward, holding confiscated identification documents. "These are our credentials. Your cooperation is appreciated." They examined them. They were indeed official Delta Force credentials. No doubt about it. This finally dispelled the last lingering doubts in their minds. "All right, key personnel will accompany us. As for the rest of you soldiers," Andre patted one of them on the shoulder. "Too many of you to handle right now, but rest assured our reinforcements are on their way. They should start arriving within the hour. Then we'll fight the Yaman kingdom together. We won't let you lose this war." You gotta hand it to him. If Andre were to act in movies, he'd easily win Best Actor. Under his masterful performance, the soldiers genuinely believed the Lighthouse Congress would come to their rescue. Mahmoud kept dropping hints, hoping the soldiers or others would catch on. But unfortunately, with Andre right beside him, he dared not be too obvious. The underground bunker was dimly lit. None of the others picked up on Mahmoud's hints. He was on the verge of breaking down. Several times he wanted to just shout it out, to tell the other person. But the thought that doing so would send him straight to meet the King of Hell made Mahmoud suppress the urge. The soldiers' eyes flashed with renewed fighting spirit. For they realized they only needed to hold out for an hour at most. And they would receive reinforcements. They would turn the tide of this war and emerge victorious. Seeing his objective achieved, Andre didn't want to linger. He turned to Mahmoud and the others and said, "Well then, we should leave now. Our helicopter is waiting nearby. I'm worried that if we stay too long, the enemy might catch on." "All right, let's go. The Lighthouse Nation truly is the savior of the Somali kingdom. We owe the Lighthouse Nation a debt of gratitude. Without them, we'd all be dead. Be careful, those damn Yemeni fighter jets were just patrolling this airspace." Exit through the underground bunker. The Somali kingdom's high-ranking official spoke from the heart, celebrating their narrow escape from death. Only Mahmoud wore a face of utter despair, ashen and lifeless. Fools. All of them fools. Chapter 222, Raise the White Flag. Lighthouse Nation, Pentagon. The atmosphere was unusually tense. Everyone wore solemn expressions. Obama sat in the main seat, silent. Mark, Smith, and others were about to speak, to break the silence. But the words were stuck in their throats, they simply didn't know what to say. Is it confirmed? The rescue team was wiped out, every last one of them dead? Moans continued to verify the authenticity of the report. Probably. We've sent countless communication requests so far, but there's been no response. Damn it. Mon sighed heavily. He clutched his chest. Hard take. Those were Delta Force special operators, after all, losing 30 or 40 of them for nothing. They couldn't accept it. Smith's mood was complex. The Delta Force, the strongest special forces unit we've ever trained, unmatched anywhere in the world. How could they have lost to them? The others couldn't make sense of it either. This likely exposed a terrifying truth. The land forces of the Yeoman Kingdom might be absurdly powerful. Otherwise, how could Delta Force, a unit so adept at combat, possibly lose to them? They were filled with curiosity. Based on their knowledge of the Yeoman Kingdom's predecessor, the Hu Armed Forces, their combat capabilities shouldn't be this formidable. Back then, they couldn't even hold their own against elite forces from the Lighthouse Nation. Even within the East Continent region, the combat capabilities of the armed forces can only be considered mediocre at best, barely reaching average. So what was the reason? That King Yaman could take over the Hu forces in such a short time, and turn them into such an elite force? Sometimes they genuinely doubted whether the Yaman Kingdom is even human. This is unnatural. Besides that, another question troubled them. How the hell did they even know about our rescue mission? Smith narrowed his eyes, his gaze shifting between suspicion and doubt. Mark glanced around the group and speculated, could it be that their air forces happened to spot our people approaching the Somali Kingdom border, raising their suspicions? Possible. Obama sighed deeply. Let's not dwell on that for now. The biggest problem is that Mahmoud has likely fallen into their hands. How are we going to get him back? We won't get him back. The exile government plan we spent so long discussing will all come to nothing. Reclaiming power later would be no easy feat. The Kingdom of Yemen itself held an exceptionally advantageous geographical position, controlling half the gateway to the Gulf of Aden. If the Kingdom of Somali also falls into the hands of the Kingdom of Yemen, then the Gulf of Aden would be completely subsumed into the Yemen Kingdom's maritime sphere. One day, if they were in a bad mood, they could declare a naval blockade, rendering their merchant ships unable to pass through the Suez Canal, leaving the lighthouse nation utterly powerless to intervene. Meanwhile, upon the surging seas, the USS Ford Carrier Strike Group was patrolling near the Gulf of Aden. Obama contacted the Ford's combat commander, Thompson. Thompson stood on the deck, his expression suddenly stiffening upon receiving the news. Mr. President, you mean you want us to launch a rescue mission for the King of Somali? That's correct, but we must do so without alerting the Kingdom of Yemen. Are you confident we can manage that? Thompson. His lips twitched. Do I look like a big loser to you? How could such a mission possibly succeed? Rescuing Mahmoud from the Kingdom of Yemen without them noticing? Unless their troops can turn invisible. Obama knew this mission was highly challenging. You can assess it yourself. If you really think it's impossible, just give up. Obama was only approaching it with a let's give it a shot mindset. Even with an aircraft carrier strike group at their disposal, they couldn't realistically provoke a conflict with the Kingdom of Yemen. Hittite port. All these ultra-high-speed missiles, who do you think they're meant for? Certainly not for the Somali Kingdom. The Kingdom of Yemen wouldn't need these hypersonic missiles to strike them. So there's no need to guess they're meant as a warning. Obama suspected. Given the fiery temper of the Yemen Kingdom's king, the moment they made the slightest move, the next second, hundreds of hypersonic missiles would be launched from Hittite port, heading straight for their Ford-class carrier strike group. Even if they possessed some intercept capability. What about the rest? With such overwhelming numbers, even if a third slipped through, the Ford carrier strike group might forever sink into the depths of the Arabian Sea. They couldn't afford to gamble. And they dared not gamble. In the end, the USS Ford carrier strike group awkwardly withdrew from the waters of the Gulf of Aden. Truthfully, their primary purpose for coming this time was primarily for deterrence. They believed the presence of the Ford carrier strike group would make the Kingdom of Yemen behave more cautiously. But clearly, the Kingdom of Yemen had no intention of giving the Ford carrier strike group any face. Staying any longer would serve no purpose. After Mahmoud and a series of Somali Kingdom high-ranking officials were taken away by Andre, this battle had become a foregone conclusion. Frontline troops were still putting up a desperate fight. When they sought orders from their superiors, they discovered all higher command had gone silent. The sheer disparity in strength had already left the soldiers feeling utterly hopeless, fighting under immense pressure. Thus, after this incident unfolded, most of the Somali Kingdom's remaining soldiers on the front lines were on the verge of breaking down. They laid down their weapons one after another and raised white flags, signaling their surrender. Of course, some, in order to survive, choosing instead to temporarily hide in the wild mountains and wilderness. They planned to wait until the storm passed before reappearing, fearing that if captured, they would face execution. Jiang Yi wasn't a particularly cruel man. He wasn't a man who killed for the sheer joy of it. Thus, the bombing was temporarily halted. A small unit under Andre's command was dispatched by speedboat to prepare for landing in Somali. First, clean up the aftermath. Jiang Yi had it all planned out. Your Majesty, another 42 tech companies worldwide have sent us cooperation requests seeking access to Yemen's satellite navigation. While waging war, collaborative efforts continued unabated. The publicly released test version, with its formidable performance, has captivated major tech companies worldwide. The number of recent orders has increased significantly. To date, the total revenue generated by Yemen's satellite navigation technology for the Yemen Kingdom has nearly surpassed 200 billion. Moreover, due to its monopoly on this technology, this revenue stream will continue to flow endlessly. Ultimately, the total gains for the Kingdom of Yemen are likely to exceed 1 trillion. Jiang Yi glanced over the documents. He forwarded the contract to Charles, adding, "From now on, handle all such matters yourself. No need to notify me." Charles is the expert in this field and trusting it to him is the right move. Jiang Yi felt reassured. Chapter 223, Nations in Shock. Seriously? Will Charles be overwhelmed with so much work? No need to worry about that either. The System Reward was a national think tank led by Charles. It's an entire team. Not just Charles alone. Charles can handle important tasks on his own, while others can take care of the rest. After all, Charles possessed the highest individual rating within the entire think tank team. This is precisely why Jiang Yi selected him as the chief strategist. His capabilities surpass those of any so-called top experts in any country in this world. After all, system rewards are always top tier. Nations. As the war between the Yemen Kingdom and the Somali Kingdom drew to a close, the high-ranking officials of all nations collectively trembled. Whether it's the Big Goose, Ichiro, the Foot Basin Nation, the Stick Nation, the Boss Nation, Holland, Ukraine, or even the Dragon Nation. No one anticipated the conflict would conclude through such a battle conference. Before the war, they believed that even if the Yemen Kingdom emerged victorious, it would come at a significant cost. After the fact, the Kingdom of Yemen might not emerge unscathed. So before the war, many nations debated what tangible impact this war would have on the Kingdom of Yemen. Yet in the end, they realized their thinking was superficial. A single Air Force unit alone. Through relentless, repeated bombing raids, they utterly overwhelmed the Somali kingdom, leaving it helpless and in disarray until it finally surrendered. To be honest, no one had anticipated such an outcome.